Second, design steps for plate girder. Design steps for plate girder. Step number one. Given data. This is equal problem. Next, step number two. Design of web depth in bracket D and thickness of plate girder. Thickness of plate web in bracket TW. Draw the figure. This is top of the top flange. This is equal to bottom flange. You first design of depth of the web D. Next, second, thickness of web. Therefore, step number three. Design of flanges. In bracket area of the flange and breadth of the flange and thickness of the flange. This is equal to breadth of the flange. This is equal to thickness of the flange. AF is equal to area of the flange. Second step is equal to depth of the web and thickness of the web. Third step is equal to area of the flange, breadth of the flange, thickness of the flange. Therefore, step number four. The classification of flanges. Plastic section, compact section, semi-compact section. IS page number 18, table number 2. Next, step number 5. Check for moment capacity. Therefore, page number 53 and clause number 8.2.12. Therefore, step number 6. Check for shear. Therefore, two types only. One is equal to using post critical method. Page number 60 and clause number 8.4.2. 8.4.2. Therefore, step number 7. Shear force corresponding to web buckling. Therefore, shear force corresponding to web buckling. Therefore, page number 68.4.2. Therefore step number 6 is equal check for shear. Therefore step number 7 is equal check for buckling. Therefore step number 8 is equal, therefore note the condition is not satisfy, hence provide intermediate stiffness. This is equal 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 end stiffness. Therefore using for method tension field method, tension field action method, page number 60, 8.4.2.2. this is equal to B. This is equal page number 60, 8.8. Therefore step number 9, check for shear capacity and panel. Check for shear capacity of end panel. Check for shear capacity of end panel. Page number 62, 8.5.2. Therefore step number 10. Check for moment capacity. Check for moment capacity of end panel. Page number 62, 8.5.2 and 8.5.3. Next step number 11, design of end bearing stiffness. Page number 62, 8.5.2 and 8.5.3. Next step number 12, check for buckling. Stiffener. Buckling of stiffener. Check for buckling of stiffener. Next last step 13, draw the diagram. Top and bottom flanges. Top and bottom flanges and webs and cross section.